Another day of rain, another day behind schedule, but I suppose that gives me more time to try and put some sort of content together for YouTube. Hopefully it isn't going to be as bad as the first effort, but I'm sure you'll tell me. Yesterday it was here, which was showing rain, and yeah, we had stacks of it. Well, now it's definitely on the way towards sunshine here, so that's positive. And the rain, that's dropped as well, so hopefully we're not going to have any rain. Gosh, I do some interesting stuff, but anyway, so there goes the expressions barometer. Let's get it up then, shall we? Here we go. And there it is in place now. And talking about the wind, what did I discover? That my lovely blue juniper, which I showed in the last video, has taken a tumble. So we'll have a look and hopefully it'll be all right. So while we're here, we can see there's still a lot of room there, some roots going in there, so there's no urgent need to repot. But I think we got away with that one. Okay, well, it's looking pretty good in there for now. So what we'll do is we'll get some of these trees out and see how we get on. This one here is a root over the rock. I did this from a cutting, started about 8 years ago, and yeah, that's firmly taken on the rock, so you'll see some more of that at some point later in the year, but that's going to get put up on the benches. It's just the last of my little Chinese elms. Some more Chinese elms. This one is in a Dawn Isaacs diceramics pot. Lovely glaze on it. And then it's a corkbark elm. I've had this right from the beginning. Getting some lovely structure again in another diceramics pot. Does some incredible stuff. Can't know if this is bark scraped primitive or I don't know. I have to try and get the names down for you. And this one here is my first ever tree. 1-year-old sapling it was in 2001. And this is the signature tree for the Expressions logo. You'll definitely see more of that. But yeah, that took on that form with my unique shaping and development structure. It requires 2 cricket balls and a football, and I promised myself when I finally did start selling some trees and make some profit, I would invest in something really nice. And I've got 2 root over rock Chinese elms, or yeah, I think they're Chinese elms. Absolutely magnificent. And here's the second one I bought. Again, look at that. And that's what I want to try and do with the elms that I'm going to dig up either today or tomorrow. They've got long roots on them. And I just got to find myself a decent rock. Got a load more trees to move out, so what I'll do is I'm going to do that now, and then I'll see if there's anything worth saying to you later. So just a little look at some of the tridents that are here. I try to keep the camera as close as I can. While I'm here, it's quiet, and one of the things I've said on the opening is that finding and learning and devoting myself to bonsai changed my life. In many ways, I actually said it saved my life. Certainly saved my marriage. And the reason for that is simple. I'd always picked sort of this male-orientated, I say stereotypical male-orientated career. I was in the Navy, went to sea a lot. I thought about myself a lot. I was pretty selfish. And deep down, things had happened when I was young, which I won't go into now. but I hadn't realised just how much they'd affected me and my emotional stability. What I did discover is that through bonsai I could control anger. When I first started tinkering, I just discovered I could get lost in it, and it didn't matter whether I was good or whether anyone appreciated what it was that I was doing. What mattered was that I finally found something I could do, that I didn't need anyone else's appreciation or recognition from, which, looking back on my life, certainly with things like sports and cricket, I've always craved attention, I've always craved approval, to the point where it became destructive. Bonsai helped me find another way to divert or direct that attention. You know, I didn't follow any classical forms or rules or anything like that. I just looked at some books, learning that things can't succeed overnight, that you have to work on them. But I suppose I found a sense of calm through the trees, and calm that it didn't matter whether or not they were good or bad. What mattered is that I could find enjoyment. I suppose really what I discovered is that when I was upset, when I was confused, when I just wanted to be alone, I could hide in my trees. I could wire them, I could bend them, I could cut them, and I could find just a little bit of peace and a little bit of balance. And later on, when I had to take over looking after my mum, then after that my father, and then later on after that my wife, I had something that was always there, always something I could fall back on. So that's how bonsai changed me and probably saved my life. I found out what that was. I saw yesterday. It's Ligustrum. Just starting to get the benches going. This is the carnage from yesterday's work. This is just the first set of stuff that I've got to start working on. Some may get repots. Some of the Chinese elms now. They're going to need to be trimmed, pruned, cleaned up. I've decided that all the trees at the front where people come in have got to be the sort of top-notch stuff that impresses, which probably sounds obvious. Got a couple of Fuji cherries at the front. I believe it's the Korean hornbeam. Either that or it's a white beech. I've had it since the beginning, but last year I got a full wire up. A lovely Satsuki azalea, some dawn redwoods, some more azalea, large Chinese elm, cotton aster, that's in another Dawn Isaac ceramic. There's that bok. Another azalea there, and there's a little bit of a mess there to sort out. Just a little bit of fun there with oak. Got a very interesting elm there. That was one that I did myself. Fuji cherry there. That was an air layer I took. My first ever air layer actually. That comes up in lovely purple flowers, and behind it is again a larch from 2001. It's in a Dawn Isaac's, I don't know if she calls that a primitive pot. Beautiful pots though. Yeah, so anyway, that's how the nursery's coming on. I've got to build some more benches down the bottom. But yeah, okay. Very happy. I thought I would show you some bits and pieces on this maple. As I said in my first video, I got this as one of 100 seedlings. They were year-old seedlings. Got them from mother-in-law got them from a market fair in Lincoln, and as I say, she's got about 100 of them for £8. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it the way that I've ended up doing it, but for the last 5 years, they've been growing in an assortment of pots, nursery beds, and slowly I've been splitting them off and either potting them up individually, or as we are now, continuing to work on them. But this one now, I'm happy that it can actually go into a nicer pot. It's got a lovely shape. It'll make a lovely Maomei bonsai. I've said it on it, I'm going Maomei. So I'll take you through that. I mean, the only reason I'm going to go through this is to just show you the root structure when it comes out. So I'm just going to remove this from the pot. I don't think it's wired. We'll just see what we've got. Even there I can see we've got some good white roots. It's healthy. It's not overly pot bound, but they're just starting to circle. So in this case, if you were faced with this choice and you didn't have loads of time, this does not have to be repotted this year. It could wait quite happily another year. And there's part of me thinking I may just do that, but for the sake of this demonstration, because I have actually got a couple of diaceramics pots I want to try it in, I'm going to go ahead. As Nigel would say, here I go. Trust the chopstick. This is one of the few that actually has moss. My garden attracts two lovely creatures. One is cats, which I talked about in the first video, and the second are birds. Loads and loads of little blackbirds and little sparrows and goodness knows what else. And they know this is the time of the year when I'll do repots, so they'll be worm hunting over the next 6-7 weeks. And they also know that every year I go out collecting moss from pavement slabs and places like that, and then I spend hours and hours and hours putting them on the trees. Goodness, that's the sort of rocks that you don't really want to have in there. And you can see from this, the soil, this is the other reason, the soil is still pretty gunky. It's going to do nothing for root development, and I can tell that as I pull it out. So the sooner it gets into a decent soil mix, the better. So getting back to the birds, which I love so much, they're at the top of the trees at the moment. I can hear them, and all they're saying is talking about who's going to be the first one to dive in and start pecking in through the soil, and also removing the new top layer of moss that I put in there. So to be fair, this year and a lot of last year, I gave up. I got so disheartened with seeing moss flying everywhere. I've ended up having to put rocks on top of a lot of my trees and using all sorts of different ways to get the birds away. But ultimately, they're smarter than me. And unless I decide to stay down here all night long with my shoe gun, well, it doesn't shoot shoes. I think it's more my flappy hands. They're my shoe hands. It's a lost cause. I did try using little metal staples to try and keep it down on the ground, but the birds just used, I think they had little crowbars or something. They used their beaks and just lifted whatever I had. So, c'est la vie, c'est la vie. There is a lovely, there is actually some lovely roots on this, radial all the way round, and I'm really quite happy because, as I say, this literally started off as a little 1-year seedling, and each time I repot them I try and spread roots out and develop, but you still feel it's a bit of a lottery sometimes. So this, as you know, if you've watched any bonsai videos, these can be cut back quite a lot, and I can do some selection. So I'll continue to brush out, get rid of all that gunky soil. So, whoops, it's just. So that's now been teased out. I'd never use a root rake on these, but I've basically got a reasonable amount of radial. There's a little extra there. I've got some upward growing stuff there. But for me, I'm relatively happy with that. Underneath, not sure if you'll be able to tell, but I've removed everything from under the center of
the base where the sheen would be on pines and stuff like that. So that'll be a flat base, and now that should be able to sit quite happily. Like that. Oh, this isn't fair, Nigel, I know. That's your phrase. The trouble is I hear it so often, it's become standard bonsai lore. Okay, so I've picked a pot. It's quite a shallow one, but with that root spread, it's nice and radial, very flat. That should sit in there nicely, and I just need to skewer it down. This is where I might go back to using my old tried and trusted technique, whether I take the installation around the back of the tree and I have no doubt there are definitely prettier ways of doing this, but if anyone's cringing or upset about my style, I do apologise. So yeah, so we should get just enough so that, to be honest, the problem is that if the birds start digging around in the soil, this has happened a number of times, the ones that I haven't tied down, their little beaks get under it, and because there's no density of roots until the roots take, I've found quite often this sort of size maple or oak upended and just on the ground with the roots all akimbo they are. So it may not be the most attractive option, but at least the pot's, at least it's in there. And now all I'll do is I'll work the soil in. With this one, I just add a little bit more kitty litter, probably another, just so it's sort of probably 3/4 to 4/5 solid inorganic. As I said last year, I still had quite a lot of Akadama, and I'd have probably used Akadama on this one, but for me it's just puts it beyond the price range. And as I say, in the end I am trying to turn this into a profitable business, and just to clarify that, certainly what I do so far pays for materials, and I think last year I earned enough that I was able to pay for all the materials this year, pots, and also pay for my road tax, MOT, and insurance on my van. And no, I couldn't live on it its own right, and I'll explain to you why in another video, but there's something good knowing that your hobby covers your motoring costs and all the materials you use. I've got Greenwood Bonsai Nursery literally 35-40 minutes away from me. Granted, it's the only other bonsai dealer, and I don't count myself truly as one, but that's where everyone goes. And my hope is that just slowly I'll just get a trickle of customers and local people that will come to me. Yeah, so that's my competition, and obviously eBay, but I'll talk about eBay somewhere else. So there we go. It's got the beginnings. There's quite a few branches that I might do stuff with, but as I say, it had a basic prune last November, where I did some bud selection. This I will leave now in a sort of semi-shaded spot. Let the buds go, hopefully let it flush, and then have a look at it again at the end of May for post-flush hardening. It started off cost me 40p in 2014. The pot I picked up for 50p in a boot sale, and the soil over this is probably no more than 50p. So for £1.50 and oh gosh, 7 years, it's 7 or 8 years, isn't it actually? That's actually an 8-year tree. Yeah, alright, and 8 years. So it's not the quickest way to do it, which is why I wouldn't recommend going at seedling stage if you're thinking of in any way of running it as a business. But in terms of personal satisfaction, that's all me, and I'm really happy about that.